Hey everyone, Dr. Louie and Dr. Namani back with the Athlete Spine. Here to talk about a really interesting news piece that I think has been really hitting the internet and what we've been seeing on SportsCenter the last couple of days, and that's about Ben Simmons, right? And we all know Ben really well. You know, started as a collegiate basketball player with LSU, and then won Rookie of the Year with the 76ers, and then started having some back problems and from a herniated disc with pain and numbness and tingling shooting down his leg. And we saw a pretty dramatic shift in his career at this point. This was, probably what, 2, 3 years ago. He underwent what we think is a microdiscectomy back in May of 2022. And news headlines have hit over the last 24 or 48 hours that he's now sidelined indefinitely because of lingering issues from back and leg pain. So I thought we would just talk about that real quick and sort of let you know what we are thinking about when we see athletes or anyone that describes these types of symptoms that presented originally, had surgery, and seemingly are back again.
Yeah, so it's really unfortunate that he's been dealing with this. And just to kind of preface this conversation, we don't really know any of the details regarding Ben Simmons' particular situation, but a problem like his that we commonly see is patients that do come back and they may have had an operation for a nerve issue, and then they continue to have nerve issues, or the nerve issues went away and then came back. And this is a common problem, unfortunately, and it can be from a variety of different reasons. So in his case, we think that he had what's called a microdiscectomy. And if you recall from some of our previous videos, that is from a piece of disc material that goes outside of where it's supposed to be in the disc space, and can push on a nerve and can cause nerve inflammation that can cause pain, numbness, and weakness traveling down a leg. And depending on where the location of that disc herniation is, it can cause different symptoms. So if it's a lower lumbar disc herniation, like at L4-5 or L5-S1, that typically will cause pain that's traveling down the back of the leg and usually the back of the calf, and it can cause difficulty with certain types of movements, particularly with ankle, lifting your ankle up or pushing it down. And one of the tests that we commonly do to test this is walking on your toes and heels. So the way that we do this is as such. So we can have someone walk on their heels like this, and this basically tests the function of the L5 nerve root. And then we can also, and L4 nerve root to some extent, and then we can have someone walk on their toes, and this checks the function of the S1 nerve root. In addition to problems in the lower lumbar spine, a little less common are problems in the upper lumbar spine, levels like the L1-2 level, L2-3, and L3-4. And this can cause symptoms. Typically, people have more pain in the outside part of their legs, going into the front of their thighs, and it can cause some difficulties in other muscle groups.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of ways we check for that, right? So Dr. Namani showed a great way to test the most common heel and toe walk. But another way we can check for these upper lumbar herniations, because they affect your hip and knee, is I have them do something called a duck walk. So I have them go into like a squat, right? And I say, hey, just take a couple steps, I guess like you're waddling like a duck. Wow, I really look ridiculous doing this. But it goes to show that it takes a lot of strength to sort of maintain your knees and your hips while sort of walking in that type of position. And another test that we will often do that requires quite a bit of strength is sometimes we'll have them do sort of like a single leg squat, right? If it seems as though they're having difficulty getting down with two legs, or they feel like their deficit isn't being shown, we'll have them go down with one leg, kind of going up and down like this. As you can see, the reason why I'm demonstrating this and not Dr. Namani is that one of us can't do this as well. So.
And just to be clear, not everyone looks as ridiculous as Dr. Louie when trying to do these very simple maneuvers.
Wait, speaking of ridiculous, I just realized, dude, that's a pretty gnarly beard you got going for No Shave November, man.
I know. This is about 2 weeks. So.
Hey, this is also 2 weeks. You see it?
Well, those of us with high testosterone, can make beards readily.
But anyways, back on topic, people always ask us, okay, I've had this surgery and you've got the disc bulge off my nerve. Why don't I feel better? And why does it come back?
Yeah, and there are unfortunately a lot of different reasons why that could be. So one reason is that the decompression or the operation to take pressure off a nerve may not have totally relieved all of the pressure. Now, this does happen from time to time, and typically someone may experience a lack of improvement immediately after the surgery, and they never quite actually improved all the way. They may have gotten partially better, but never really totally got better. Another reason, especially in the case of a disc herniation, is that the disc herniation can recur. So you can have had, complete relief of symptoms, and then at some point in time later, that might be days, weeks, months, or even years later, people can have a new disc herniation that occurred even in the same spot that they had the old disc herniation, and can cause a recurrence of similar types of symptoms. Other reasons are that people can develop instability or abnormal motion that happens at the site of a prior surgery or the site of a prior injury. And this can cause nerve inflammation and irritation that can cause lingering nerve symptoms. And sometimes the nerve itself is just not healthy or has been damaged to such an extent that it can just continue to hurt. As spine surgeons, we can take pressure off of nerves, from a disc herniation or from other things, but we can't go in and repair the nerve fibers themselves. And we really rely on the body's healing potential to try to reduce inflammation and for the nerve to start functioning normally. And in some cases, people's nerves just don't go back to functioning the way that they did before an injury.
Yeah, and that's an important part to bring up, and sort of in closure to this discussion. We see this in everyday people, right? And most people aren't putting on the type of loads on their lower back like some of these professional athletes. We talked about this a few months ago. If you look at Michael Porter Jr., he had something called a foot drop, right? Where it's so weak that his ankle got weak. So he actually wears this brace, if you look closely at his ankle while he plays, during his games to help sort of keep his ankle a little bit in more of a position where he doesn't trip as much because it's weak. It's the same way with these athletes, right? They put such an incredible load on their spines. And so it sort of magnifies some of the issues that we can see in our patients themselves. And, I wish we had an answer to all of these presentations, and I wish we had sort of the magic here. But at the end of the time, we don't have perfect solutions for these problems, especially when it comes to nerve issues, because nerves sort of act on their own at times. We do our best to provide more space for the nerves to travel and an opportunity to heal, but it can still be quite unpredictable at times, as we see. But, we love Ben Simmons. We love watching him play, and we hope for the best of his recovery in the upcoming future. And hopefully he can return this season. So thanks for joining us for this quick video today. Dr. Louie and Dr. Namani here with the Athlete Spine. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and subscribe on YouTube.
Take care, everyone.